we go. All right.
Take my camera. There you go.
I'm recording now. All six of us. Um, it was almost
Perfect.
just me and Ken. We could just talk. I'm just gonna say really quickly. Anybody listening to this recording, it is. I know that the screen is blank. There's just. I mean, I don't know. Unless we show something super cool, I don't want to mess with having to like. I'm working with one monitor right now, so I'm just keeping. You'll hear the audio, but you won't see me and Ken looking tired, basically. So, not that Ken looks tired, but I look tired. Ken
I
looks
always look
fat.
tired. Is it
Uh,
Friday yet? Must be Friday.
it's close, I think. At
Feels
least,
like I've done a week's worth of work already.
yeah. Um. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Oh yeah.
Happy.
So, I guess first of all, before we jump into, because it looks like Cassidy had some good questions about all the internship stuff posted. So I wanted to. We'll probably mostly be talking about that because there's a lot we could say about that. But is there anybody that has any questions about class stuff right now? Like any issues going on with Blender or Unity or Godot or Unreal or whatever you're using? Or questions for Ken? Oh, Marla said she's not going to be able to make it tonight, but should be back next week. So, but Ken or I should be able to answer any questions. Rowie is typing something
Eventually.
dramatically.
Here we go.
Actually, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Cassidy's questions and just throw it into a chat GPT and let chat GPT answer the questions. Okay. I'm putting it into a text thing so I can actually parse through, make sure that we're actually talking through these things. All right, let's see. Okay. Rowie's saying right now Blender keeps crashing on me. Rowie, do you know when it's crashing? Like, is there something in particular? You can unmute if you got a mic too.
It's just been really random. Like it hasn't necessarily been when I'm doing certain things.
Which project are you working on?
I'm still on. Oh, let me see what it's called on.
Is it like the Sea Shack or the Toadstool or?
It's the Sea Shack.
Is it
that one?
Were you having crashes during like even the first project or anything?
No. I've had it crash before, but normally it just takes rebooting. But then this time it's just like been stuck in a loading screen for a good amount of time. And it's just been doing it every once in a while. So it's taking me a lot longer to do stuff.
Are you on Mac or PC?
I'm on a MacBook Air.
Like one of the new ones?
No.
I was thinking about MacBook Pro because there's what do you know what version of Blender you're using?
I re-downloaded it whenever I started the class because I wanted one of the newer builds.
Sure.
I think it was the second to newest. I'm forgetting the number. Let me.
Like 3.5 or
what I'm
something
wondering
like
is if you're using
it was 4 point something.
What I'm wondering is you should be using the LTS, which is long-term support. So that, I mean, because if you're having regular crashes, I don't know. Are you able to open it at least to see like I mean, I can also tell you there's another way to check what version you've got, but
let me see if it opens. Yes. Oh, I'm using 3.6. Oh, yeah, 3.6.3.
Okay, but 3.6.3. I mean, it should be. Let me give me just a second.
Okay. I do know it's with like how my computer. I forget what it was called. I am having a problem with RAM and storage right now.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Is it's also
Mm.
possible if you're running low on storage, especially that that could be it.
The thing is, with my Mac, it's having trouble knowing when things are closed and when things aren't, which is a problem on my end. Like it's not something with Blender, I'm sure.
Okay.
Like it thinks that Safari is running whenever it's closed. It thinks that like things like Audacity are running whenever it's fully quitted.
Why don't you schedule a time with me, because I could probably help you troubleshoot what's going on, because we could probably clean it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because it's super
Yeah.
frustrating when you're having regular crashes. I mean, with Blender, and then if you're having that issue with other software and stuff too. I mean,
Yeah, there's a bunch of cleanup stuff you can do with like caching and all sorts of stuff that can help speed it up. So,
Yep.
My dad works with Macs and he's worked with
Mhm.
Macs for a while, so we are gonna sit down and go through it all
Oh, okay.
in a
Well,
couple
that's even
days.
better. No.
We've just both been out of town and
Well,
busy.
okay, so
Sorry.
just
I-
if he doesn't have time, I'm happy to hop on a call to take a look at it
Okay.
too. But he probably knows more about it than I do. But I
Yes.
do.
Thank you.
I've had to
here.
troubleshoot Macs a lot too. So.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I should have
No,
started with
no.
that.
I mean, this is actually kind of exactly that's part of the idea with this stuff, is making sure that nobody's like stuck on issues like. I mean, especially I don't know. For me, it's always surprises me how often students are like, oh yeah, like I get a message that like something's being turned in super late because they're having all these technical issues, and it's like, I mean, could just be an excuse or whatever, but I believe it, right? I mean, there's technical issues happen all the time, and so it's like,
Mhm.
and it's super frustrating. So I'm happy to help out with, and Ken obviously too. I mean, but the um, it's usually fixable. I mean, my like before I worked at a game studio, I was like computer lab supervisor, and then I worked for our IT department at the university, basically. So I have a lot of troubleshooting experience outside of even just troubleshooting stuff for games too. So
I noticed stuff was slowing down for me a week or two ago, and I updated my OS to the latest, and that kind of seemed to fix a bunch of stuff as well. So sometimes
that's what Apple does. They
that's
always
an issue. They do, yeah.
get on the
So,
latest one, and that. Sorry, never mind. I won't go down my Apple
No, you're good.
traumas.
Apple.
No.
Yeah.
I was working on an iOS game, and it was like, hey, you got to update. I think I had to update Xcode, and I was like, okay, I'll update Xcode, and then it was like,
Yeah.
oh, you need to update the operating system. I was like, to update Xcode, and I was like, okay, I'll update the operating system. And I was like, your computer cannot run that version of the operating system, so you have to upgrade your computer to update to the. I was like,
Yep. And it will ask me for like passkeys that don't exist. It will ask for like access to things that I'm like, I
feel like
don't use that thing.
I feel like Apple is designed really well. It has a really smooth user experience, but I also think they purposely design it where it's like, nah, that one's getting pretty old. If you just bought a new one, it would all work smooth again. It's like, ah.
In the 1,000 different types of screws they use.
Oh,
No,
okay.
yeah.
Don't even get me started on their hardware.
I won't. I won't.
Yeah, no, I've
Thank
had
you,
to do
guys.
that. I actually, and there was a point. This is not recently anymore. It was what 4 or 5 years ago that they started soldering the RAM in. I was like, I was trying to help a student upgrade their Mac, and it was like that model's RAM is soldered onto the board, and you cannot insert new RAM. There was actually, it was like you technically can if you're really good at soldering, and I was like, that is.
See, my dad would like help because it's like $1,000 to get your Mac fixed, and so my dad would just like help people.
Yeah.
And because he knows a lot about it, so he just would fix other people's computers. I remember he'd be like, "Rowie, come here for a second," and him showing me the the soldered RAM, and it was just like, I was like, why is that not? Because he had like handed me things he had like taken out of computers every once in a while and said, "Here, hold this." And the fact that it wasn't screwed in was so weird.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't fix this. I can't take it out.
Yeah.
I don't have a solder.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, not to
Mhm.
mention that if the RAM goes bad or something, which is not, I've had that happen, several times, and definitely with
Everything that
students.
can go bad, and they make it purposefully. Like they make it like, I have a flip phone, and I can take out the battery whenever I want, even if it's overheating. I can take it out. I purposely have, I purposely have one of those. Yes, and I remember seeing some sort of like, not legislation, but like some sort of thing that was going to pass that said that you have to have disposable batteries in your phones, because like things like Apple, they're just putting in the worst battery that will like degrade over time.
Well, and
then
they know exactly what they're doing. They're engineers. It's like this is gonna fail if you have the standard warranty, but it will fail within the extended warranty, so that they want you paying for they were found guilty in, I don't know, some European country. This was years ago. They were found guilty of doing planned obsolescence, where they had engineered something that it would fail in a window like that, and they were found guilty of it. And it's like, but the payout was low enough that it's like, we're just gonna keep doing it anyway, or whatever.
They have new things that they know will be better by like a marginal amount, and they want to just keep selling things and keep up pricing.
Just so everybody knows, by the way, I am not like a Microsoft fan or anything either. It's just they're all crooked in different ways.
Yeah.
I do like, my Windows is like, congratulations, this window version of Windows can update, or this computer supports updating to Windows 11. I'm like, never. But I'm able to just say no. Okay, anyway, sorry, Ken. Ken knows I could just complain about Apple for an hour straight. He's heard it for more than an hour.
If I could just use a pencil and paper like I used to.
Yeah, well, no, I know. Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess we could jump into, unless anybody else wants me to get started on another rant, we could start talking about all of those internship postings. So if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, we shared in general. This was actually Colin Duckworth, who's an awesome musician that's doing an internship with Studio Nisa. He actually came across, I don't remember, I think he didn't remember. No, he came across it on an audio website where they post internships and jobs, that Maxis was hiring audio interns. And I was like, well, share it. And I took a look, and their internships are all open right now. So if you go take a look at that careers page, I don't even know how much, because they're an EA studio. I mean, they've got, I just did a find on that page for intern, and it looks like there's 14 internship postings. And that doesn't even mean that there's only 14 slots. It's just those are 14 separate, like there's a producer intern, gameplay engineer intern, actually that's a duplicate. That one is duplicate. 2 gameplay engineer interns, experience design, game design, character artist, audio artist, environment art intern. I mean, that's a ton of internships. I think I missed a few. VFX. And those are all just the internships. They have a bunch of other postings and everything. So really recommend taking a look at those, and just take a stab at applying for one. I didn't share a link to this, but down at UNL, where they have their emerging media arts degree, they had one of their students get an internship with Maxis. I guess it must have been over this past summer. I should see if I can connect with them and find out what happened with that. And Cassidy is the only person that's even asked about it so far. So I thought we could start talking through Cassidy's questions. So first question was just, as a newbie, what should a portfolio for one of these include? I don't know, Ken, do you want to, I mean, because obviously it really depends on what,
Yeah, like you were just about to say what I was thinking. It just depends on the role that you're going for and what they would want to see.
Ken, I'm sorry too. I don't know if it's for everybody else. Is Ken sounding quiet for everybody?
My,
I
okay.
think it might be, you might be using your mic from the built-in mic instead of the headset mic is my
He
guess.
sounds pretty even to me.
Oh, really? Oh, maybe I'm
You
just,
can turn down certain people on Discord.
I know.
Actually, wait a second. Never mind. Never mind.
I have Tim,
Uh,
I have Ken turned up as far as possible.
hmm.
Normally, you've got me turned down as far as possible.
I'm like,
I'm
he's just
surprised.
moving his lip. Okay, if it's just
That's
me,
right.
then that's.
Let me
more than
adjust.
me.
Oh wait, you know what? I don't know. Maybe it is something. That's bizarre. I don't know. Maybe don't. Wait, try just saying something.
How is that? Is that better?
I'm actually looking at the levels on OBS and it looks fine. So maybe I'm just going deaf or. I've just I've gotten way too good at tuning you out now.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
looking.
You don't even hear me anymore.
Okay, I'll shut up. Ken, what should a newbie put in one of those portfolios? In this portfolio?
In the portfolio, I guess are we talking environment or just talking
I think what I'm going to do
for an internship?
I'm going to pull up the environment art internship and I'll throw that into the general channel here. So if you want to open that up, so I'll read it out since I'm doing the recording too.
Okay.
So this looks like their boilerplate for all the internships. So I'm looking specifically at the environment art intern. It says Electronic Arts is looking for students to join our world-class internship experience. Summer 2024 will be better than ever as we bring all interns together on site for orientation week and prep students for the future way of work by offering remote and hybrid opportunities depending on your location. So yeah, it sounds like I'm not going to read literally all of this.
No.
Let's see.
I mean, generally for a portfolio, usually it's a 20 to 25 pieces of work. There's just generally that's, it can be less than that. Just put a variety of work in there. Have the stuff you're most happy with. Kind of start with something good and end with something good. So the thing about portfolios is people will tend to put in their pieces, but they won't think about looking at the portfolio pieces as how one piece relates to the next piece. It's just that there's a little flow to how things, so you can position things to kind of keep it keep it keep it interesting and make it kind of
well, this is crazy. I forgot. I think that EA. Sorry, Ken, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I think you said something, but you were kind of breaking up there.
I just realized all their internship positions, they're saying qualifications. You have to be enrolled in a bachelor's degree granting program. So you have to be in a 4-year program. And I'm checking all of them and it looks like all of them require that. That's crazy. I'm going to, that's so depressing. What? Now I'm angry enough. I want to contact them and be like, you'll only accept people that are in a 4-year degree? That's crazy. They'll be like, yeah, we can do that. No, I forgot though, that probably happened. I think I saw this maybe even last year, maybe Nicholas or somebody came across EA internship postings. I wonder if it's EA always has that requirement on their internship. Well, we're gonna go
It,
find a better internship.
I know they never used to. I mean, when I was there, that wasn't the case.
Well, see, that's what I wonder if that's one of those things that if you just applied for it, that
Is
they,
it,
I,
we had interns every year. We had uh, both at Tiburon in Florida and EA
oh,
Salt Lake. We
Riot
had
also has all their internships. Let's see what they're saying. I'm about to
mhm.
post that too. Currently, oh yeah, this is Riot. Currently enrolled in a college, university, or non-degree program. Okay, I'm going to share Riot's intern. We better check. I wonder, probably then Blizzard is going to have theirs posted too. Uh, let's see. Let's see if Blizzard's got their internship.
Blizzard usually post before everybody else.
Let's see. Apply now. Yep, Blizzard's okay. They all opened all their internships. Everybody apply. Let's see, environment art. Cool. Well, okay, so this is great because now we can just kind of talk. Yay, this is great too. Yeah, Blizzard specifically says pursuing associates, bachelor's, master's, or PhD. Okay, and graduating within April 2024 to July 2025. Well, okay, so I'm not going to read through all of them. Everybody should definitely be taking a look at all of these. Um, so yeah, I mean, so Ken, I mean, first of all, I think was saying what 20 to 25 portfolio pieces for like typical art. So what would that look like, would you say? I mean, because just so everybody is totally clear, Ken was an art director at EA, so like actually has I mean, imagine you were like directly involved with hiring interns for these programs, right?
Yeah, usually there would be a first pass that would uh, be done, and then uh, we would usually have a number of internships based on how many. Uh, like at EA Salt Lake, for example, there was the Sims people were there, and they would have a couple of interns. There was the Hasbro people, so we would have some internships, and there'd be a good half dozen uh, internships that would and then there was different disciplines. So we'd have programming interns and design interns and all sorts of stuff. So it was good. But and I think we even hired a few. Yeah, I believe we hired. I know down at Tiburon, there was definitely a push to hire uh, people who had interned on the teams. So you just, it's yeah, it's a good and it's a great experience to just see how a team works and how you know the ins and outs of uh, uh, production work and such. So
Well, okay, so Ken, like with an environment artist, would you say like, I mean, do you think they need that many pieces, or is that including things like sketches and stuff like that, or what are you thinking?
I mean, for an internship, it would be there would be a few key pieces that you'd worked on. Also, there'd be multiple uh, multiple renders of the same piece, so it's not like you'd have to create separate pieces. You're showing uh, different aspects of the same environment that you've worked on. There's some texture stuff that you would show. It's really nice to see some process pieces as well, and then uh, um, a good sense of a piece that's kind of if you can make something that's kind of story driven, that has a relationship to uh, uh, what you're trying to, what a design could be. For example, it just shows that you're thinking in terms of user experience, and uh, taking a user through an environment, leading the eye, stuff like that is is good. And then there's just the practical skills of hey, I know how to do basic modeling and UVs and texture painting, and I have a sense of how to put some stuff together. Lighting is key as well. So it's it you don't need like 20 pieces that are all unique, but a number of pieces that, 3 or 4 environment pieces that you've worked on in different aspects of that, it's usually nice to see, because then it's usually something you can have a conversation with the prospective intern about and ask questions. And there's usually a couple of uh, I remember being in a bunch of well, not really interviews, but just discussions with a bunch of with recruiting people, and we would have these um, open days where people would be able to bring their portfolios and show stuff, and those were usually before internships and stuff. Around the summer and stuff, we would have those. So it was a chance to just go and talk to people and meet people and ask questions about, hey, what's your expectation? That yeah, I'm interested in concept art. What should I have in my portfolio? You can actually talk to, and usually on the sites they actually give a breakdown of what the expectation is that you would have, that they would expect to see in a portfolio. You can usually find.
I know for sure Blizzard and Riot have pretty extensive internship pages. What I'm actually doing right now is I just created a new channel, or a new yeah. Am I going crazy? Yes, a new channel. I made a new channel. I don't know why. I don't know. Okay, I'm too tired. I made a new channel under the general category on the server called internships, that actually I think I'm gonna lock, so that, let's see. I don't know. See, now I'm like, I don't know if this should be a forum or something like that. Let me see. Permissions. I'm gonna make it so that everyone can view it, but yeah, I'm gonna make it so that we can't post in there. Let's see. I guess I'm gonna try all this. Let me try that. I don't know if that's actually going to work the way I expect it to, but this way, I'm trying to make it just so that it's kind of a one-stop thing that you all could see. I put the Blizzard Student Art Contest is also going on right now, which the cool thing is basically you could do the Blizzard Student Art Contest and use that piece as part of your portfolio for applying for an internship. And what's cool about the link that I put there is oh wait, okay, so the first link takes you straight to the different contests. They have one for environment art, one for FX, one for character art, and one for animation. But then I made a thread that all under that has a link to former winners of the different categories and stuff like that. So you can go take a look, like what quality level were those at that you would need to be pushing your stuff to be considered, for those. I think that's really cool being able to see directly like this is the type of work that has won in the past, basically, because that should also
Mm.
probably give you a pretty good idea of like the quality level expected at least for an internship. Um, uh, and I already who was it? I was oh yeah, Cassidy. I was thinking since Rowie was talking about Cassidy was also asking what sort of things can you get creative with in terms of a resume and application. I'll just throw this out there for my personal experience has been I thought that being creative and cool with my resume and everything would like help my stuff stand out. What makes your stuff stand out is having a really strong portfolio. I mean, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't care about your resume and cover letter and stuff like that. But if you have a strong portfolio, well, if you have a strong portfolio, that stuff's not going to matter as much. And then if you don't have a great portfolio, that stuff's not going to matter as much either, right? I mean, I don't know, Ken, what do you think?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's. I mean, that's definitely what they'll look at. They'll also look at what tools do you use? Are you have familiar with the different uh, tools that they use? You use Maya, ZBrush. Do you the Adobe suite? Do you familiar with that? Uh, are you familiar with what a pipeline is? Can they kind of slot you into to uh, the pipeline, and you have an understanding of how that works? And obviously, you're an intern, so you don't have there's an expectation you don't know everything, but the more seamlessly you can just uh, come in and um, have a sense of what it is you're interested in focusing on, uh, and how you would like to contribute. That's a huge help. Um, and yeah, it's you know for I guess just yeah, I think understanding texture painting, that you're efficient with UV and unwrapping and uh, creating texture bakes, and just understanding uh, the and having some pieces of it show you've done that kind of work, um, is really helpful. So,
Ken, I
there's an expectation to be able to come in and just do some stuff and be slotted into whatever they need.
I
So,
feel like
yeah.
what I was on the tip of my brain from talking about all this was uh I think this was we were talking about this I don't know if this was last week or 2 weeks ago or something we were talking about like the importance of showing your progress because I think we had started you were starting off with talking about for your character design class it seemed like a lot of people were struggling with like actually really following through the process and I feel like that
Oh,
that
yeah. Well, I think people were jumping ahead, and I think I was saying that you're if you're working on your own stuff, uh, it's a little easier to kind of move through and finish something because it's something you're designing for yourself. But if you're working within a team, say you're working on The Sims, for example, there's a certain process that everybody works within, and there's a certain discipline uh, that you're expected to follow that process and give art directors and designers and such and supervisors opportunities to uh, check your work and make sure it's going in the right direction, so that you're not working away for like a week and nobody sees anything that you're doing. and because it has to fit into a very specific brand style. So that's part of the reason to work through the process of you know, in the order that it's in the class is helpful, because that's what you would be required to do in
Well,
a
and
real world
I
situation.
think the thing is,
I guess.
if you're actually saving all that progress, that's exactly what we're
Mm.
talking about then is for your portfolio. You may only have, say, 5 actual like completed works that you're really showing off, but then you have a bunch of the progress of that stuff, because that's exactly what they want to be seeing. That you know that process. You didn't just, oh, this is perfect
Yeah, you
actually.
have like about value studies that you can show. You have some color exploration. You have thumbnail sketches. Like all of that stuff becomes uh, uh, stuff that you can flesh out a portfolio with.
So I was going to bring up, this was actually, I was just in a meeting with uh, the other DEMA faculty and English faculty. We're actually, believe me, this is actually connected, believe it or not. We were talking about, we're trying to make an English class that is, what's the term we were using? Is, I'm too late. It's an English class that's contextualized for DEMA classes. So basically, it would be almost like a technical writing course, but with a focus on how how do you write, uh, critiques to other like the types of stuff that you'd actually be doing at a studio or at in the workplace as a graphic designer, like that type of stuff. So we were talking about all that, and Susan, our dean, was actually bringing up. They had she's involved some place that she volunteers with for art, like an arts council type of thing. They had something where they were going to have artists involved, and she had talked about making it a requirement that there was some sort of uh, formal art training of some sort. And there was a lot of pushback against that because it's like, well, that can be kind of exclusive or, whatever. And so they didn't do that. But then, so they ended up working with 3 artists, and 2 of them had some more formal training and one of them didn't. And the one, and who knows, maybe this is just the person or whatever, but the one that didn't have the more formal training, when they gave them feedback on changes that needed to be done for, I don't know, whatever gallery or whatever, they didn't react well at all. It was like, well, if I had known that I was going to, they were doing things like they had spent like 7 hours on what should have been a thumbnail. And when they said that there needed to be changes, they're like, well, I wouldn't have spent 7 hours on this if I thought you were going to ask for changes. It's like, of course we're going to ask for changes. That's just part of the normal cycle with this, right?
Yeah.
And now to me, I'm like, I don't think that necessarily has anything, not that it has nothing to do with formal art education, but this is also probably just lack of professional experience with it either. But that's something that we can do, at least at the community college, is give you all hopefully more of that experience of, this is not just us like, hey, how do you feel about this? And like, give each other feedback and take feedback. It's like, this is stuff that it's actually expected with real projects. There's a reason for the process and for being able to give and receive critiques and feedback.
There's also a way, as an artist, production artist, working as a production artist, that you can set up your work to make it more seamless for the person who's giving you feedback.
Yes, right. Yeah.
You can work in a way, you can set up your Photoshop layers, you can set up your animation curves, and there's a process of a structural way of working that allows you to go back and make changes really quickly. If you're familiar with that, if you know that that's part of what you like, naming your layers, making sure that you create modes that make sure that when you're animating, you keep all your keys lined up until you get to the point where you've had your the blocking approved, and then you can start to add in more detail. But even when you're taking it to the next level, you still have ways of working that allow you to go back in and make adjustments and changes. Otherwise, it's incredibly painful if you're not used to working that way, or you don't get in the habit of setting it up so that you can make changes quickly. And also, if you do that, if you can set things up the way that allows you to make adjustments, or if you, what I used to do when I was showing stuff to directors, or I'd create multiple versions of something, and I would present, hey, here's something, here's a shot with this timing, here's a shot with this timing. I blocked this out. Like I would give options and think through stuff so that they could see how I was thinking and what I was trying to express through the work, and they could see that I'm, it's just, it makes it then that your director or your supervisor is collaborating with you instead of coming in and telling you what to do. you're part of the you're part of the creative process, and if you figure out how to work that way, it just makes life so much easier. Uh, because it's, I know as an art director, it was much easier to work with somebody who kind of had a process of being able to iterate and take feedback that I would give them and get the feedback to me really quickly so that I could see whether it's working, and I could either improve something or give some more feedback. And it's just a good way to think and get used to working. And it's not about being precious about the work. It's about finishing something and getting it to be better than it would be if you were just doing it yourself.
I was going to just mention, I'm trying to catch up there's actually a bunch of chat going on, bunch of chatter. It's good. But Rowie was talking
I'm
about
missing it. Chat.
Well, I can't even keep up with it while we're talking too much. But I saw Rowie
Right,
was
there it is.
talking about customized, like with everything we were just saying. Yeah, I also wouldn't go with like the most boring resume possible, but I also would say, unless you're going for like a specifically super artsy type of plays, I think people would prefer to be able to read your resume clearly rather than like you're using chiller font or something like that. I mean, I that's where I would just say I would tend more towards professional than not, unless you do feel really confident with your style that you're pushing for your resume and everything. But I would say, if you have that level of confidence, you probably don't care what we're saying about it anyway. But yeah, so just, yeah, it doesn't mean don't make it super boring or anything like that. But and again, it depends on what you're applying for too. That's why it's important. That's why we have you all in Intro to the Game Industry. Look at like resumes of people that have gotten these jobs, and you'll see. I mean, sometimes their resumes are basically, they have a really strong portfolio and they have like some information filled out on the ArtStation stuff. It's not, if you have a really strong portfolio, the resume is not what's going to tank you. But, and it's true though that like you don't want your resume to be like, especially I think like grammar errors and spelling mistakes and stuff like that are just like, people are like, well, I think sometimes I've seen people kind of get defensive about like, well, I mean, it was just like this one typo. It's like this somebody's looking at hundreds of resumes. I mean, I'm the type that a typo or a grammar error or something just jumps out at me, and if you're looking for excuses to throw people's stuff out, I wouldn't do that, but people do, so why give them that excuse when your resume at this, like at for almost all of you, your resume should be a 1-page resume. I can crunch my resume down to 1 page because it's just,
I've managed to do that.
yeah, you're trying to make it relevant to the job you're applying for. And yeah, Ken has
Yeah.
just a ridiculous amount of experience, but even like in that, your resume is still trying to communicate to whoever's looking at it what's relevant about my experience for what you're looking to fill, basically. And so that, if you know how to self-edit, that's going to be, it doesn't really need to be more than a page usually, so before I forget, I was also going to bring up just kind of like a practical advice about when you're working on your portfolio and resume and your cover letter, is like, you really want to try to put yourself in the shoes of somebody that doesn't know you looking at this for the first time. Because I have so many students, they show me their portfolio and it's like, I know you, so I know you have way more work than this, but what you're showing right now, somebody would open it and just be like, oh, and just close it, and then they'd move on to the next applicant because they don't know anything about you. You're not showing them anything significant about who you are, why they should want to work with you or anything like that. It's like, if you make your resume feel too Chat GPT written or your cover letter to Chat GPT written and stuff, I mean, that's the type of thing I'm already seeing people like using Chat GPT for all sorts of stuff like that. And it's like, somebody that's looking at that stuff all the time is going to smell that instantly, I guarantee you, because you will word things differently than a robot would about your experience or whatever, Now, that I'm not saying that you couldn't try using Chat GPT to get you a first draft to get like, so that you're not just like stuck on a blank page or something. But I would still even be a little bit hesitant about that, because there is something to be said about, well, I just want to knock something out quickly, especially when I'm applying for a lot of jobs. It's like, I can smell that when you're doing that, and it may seem unfair, but you're thinking from your perspective of, but I'm applying for 300 jobs, Nicholas, where they're from the perspective of, I'm looking at 300 applicants. Whose are the ones that stand out? It's the ones that, and Nicholas, by the way, I'm not picking on you for that. You didn't do a good job with your stuff or anything, but more like, I know that Nicholas has been applying for a bunch of places. That's really what I'm talking about. But so the temptation would be to stop caring as much when you're applying to each one. And you kind of have to do that to an extent. But I don't know. It's just one of those things. I think as humans, especially for people, like, you have to think about somebody's job it's their job to do the first pass. And now, I mean, sure, maybe AI is doing a very first pass, but then there's a real human looking at whatever gets through that first pass of sifting. And they are going to, and again, it's not like, I smell this Chat GPT garbage here and I'm just going to throw this out because I hate them. I'm not even going to look at their portfolio. But you only have that one chance at a first impression. And if your first impression is not great, that tints the whole rest of what they're not super happy with your cover letter or your resume, and then they go look at your portfolio and they're like, yeah, it's not the best that I've seen, and then they just close it, versus like, oh, this really feels like I want to help this person. Not that you need to write a sob story or something like that, but Ken, I'll let you.
I saw on PBS NewsHour, I think this week, there was a story where they had a reporter had a submission letter written by ChatGPT, and one that was written by her, and gave it to the person whose job it is to read these, and immediately she could tell which one was written by GPT and which one was
Yes.
written
Yeah.
by because there was the one that was written by the reporter was more authentic and more kind of personable and just uh, worded in a way that wasn't so formal.
Yep.
And so you can tell straight away now that people are looking for it.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
gonna jump out as even more.
And I think that's
Uh,
the same with art, AI art and everything too, where people at first were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe AI art is generating this stuff." But then, because it's all generating mostly samey looking stuff, people can usually say, "Is this AI generated?" And unfortunately, there's a few people I think that do have an art style that is really, it has a certain type of polish and stuff that some people think looks AI generated. But I would say for the most part, people notice it's like people are good at picking up on really, I don't know how true all this is, but I've heard things like that humans can recognize facial expressions from, I don't know, 600 feet away or something. We're really good at subtle things. So like the hand stuff, like in AI generated art, where people will immediately pick up on like something looks wrong about a background character, and not because the artist is bad, but because we pick up on like why does that person have six fingers and they're way off in the background or something. I'm just thinking about, I saw people on Twitter posting about, um, it was some Fallout, for the game series Fallout. There was AI generated parts of some of the concept art they were using, and man, people immediately zeroed in on exactly the parts that are, it's AI generated art because of this weird stuff that a person would never actually do. It's not like a scribble. It's something is wrong, and you can see that it got pasted together wrong or whatever, and um,
we're so sophisticated now. We
yeah,
get bombarded with so much imagery,
yes, yeah.
so like constantly. We're just attuned to be able to to see stuff really quickly, I think.
Roey did share, that. So I was saying
Yeah.
don't go crazy or whatever, but the example that Roey found, that is actually a really great example of. It's in the Party Chat Town chat if anybody wants to find it, but of Lewis Tarver's resume. And yeah, it's very simple. It's super easy to read, but it's like, yeah, a purposeful choice of, um, simple font, but that is like actually not what people would probably normally choose for a resume because it looks too old fashioned or something. But it's like that actually seems to fit with their personal art style and everything. So that is a really good example. So, and yeah, that's why it's important to spend time. If you're going to be applying as an environment artist, go look at a bunch of environment artists' portfolios and resumes. Look at some of the best examples you can find, but also try to find those entry level positions and stuff, because what you don't want to do is only look at the best and feel like, well, I don't have that portfolio, because there's no way for you to have that portfolio yet. So you want to find, well, what are some of the best student level or just recent graduate level stuff, so that you're giving yourself a reasonable target to be shooting for. Um, what was I going to say? Oh, actually, I just realized, I guess Cassidy's last question was just related to the getting creative. I'm older, so it's been pretty ingrained that you stay traditional and professional with your applications, but would that be different for things like this? I mean, I think we've been talking about this, but just, yeah, I think you don't have to be, your application itself doesn't have to be like, wow, it's so cute and funny and clever. It's, uh, but we want to get a sense of who you are still too. Something that I do personally, like if you're looking at job stuff, would be like, especially when there's a specific position that you're trying to get, you know, when you're staring at that blank page of like, what should my cover letter be? You can literally just take their list of requirements and qualifications and nice to haves and stuff like that, put that into a Google Doc, and start fleshing out, turning that into a narrative about, and this is where you have to be real honest with yourself about how would I answer these questions, either that I have experience that directly relates to these things, or if I don't, how do you address that with them? Because you're not going to get around, say you get the interview, you're not going to fake your way through it or whatever. So you have to be able to say, even though I don't have this experience, there's ways of saying, even though I don't have this experience, I have all this other related experience, and I'm very confident that I'm going to be able to tackle this part that I don't really have as much experience with. Yeah, Ken, I don't know if you wanted to speak to that a little bit. We're actually almost at 7. I knew we'd have plenty to talk about with this.
The Lewis Tarver, I was just looking at his site that Rowie posted, and he has a very very bold style. Like it's very unique and consistent throughout his site, and it's he's got lots of video stuff and illustration work and some stuff from sketchbooks and such. And it's a very kind of, I could see him working for an ad agency or doing some really unique commercial work. But it's very very cool. It's a cool look. He has a very specific color palettes that he uses and shape language and stuff. It's it's cool.
I wanted, since we're hitting right at 7, and I will probably get aggorized soon. No, actually, I'm honest. Well, if you all can't tell, I am actually I feel like I'm running on fumes at this point. I'm sorry, Nathaniel, we didn't get to talk about all the drama stuff that you guys are dropping in well, not all drama stuff, but yeah, it sounds like Tim Sweeney is going all out with not all about changes to well, because obviously we've been talking about the changes to the Unreal engine costs, but now they're talking about how Rocket League is going to be getting monetized and stuff like that too.
Yeah, they're completely changing how it's working. They're basically making new rules for in-game items to basically need to be accessible across all experiences that they're making or whatever. So it's like they don't want them to be player transferable at all,
which is
going to single-handedly kill Psionics because the trading community is almost 80% of their game.
They're like,
it's like not many people spend money on items that they can't trade,
right?
Because they cost like $30 for a car when they could spend $10 and get the same car from another player. It's but inevitably they get more transactions that way.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, I think this is still feeding into that, like what I've been talking about, where we're seeing this happening across the tech industry right now. Is there's all these, it's not just going to be all these layoffs. It's everybody. Really, it's about all these companies trying to figure out, like, we need to be figuring out ways to be more profitable, or that's what they're feeling like, most of them anyway. So now we're getting all these changes in revenue policies and stuff like that.
Yeah, this policy is specifically for player-owned items because the Epic is wanting to do this whole, like, if you buy a car in Rocket League, you can use that car in other games, like Fortnite with a vehicle, or something like that. That's basically what they said in the post, which is like wild because that's not why people buy stuff. But they're doing the same thing with Fortnite.
They're trying to force the metaverse stuff of, like, this stuff is all being shared, right? I mean, and that's right. I mean, I think that's the part of the goal with it anyway. But that's, as many business decisions are, it's you're putting the cart before the horse, or it seems
Yeah,
like a
it's-
fundamental
it's so
misunderstanding of
frustrating.
how the players, well, with Unity, how developers want to use the engine, and with the with Rocket League or stuff like that, where like the mentality of why players are spending the money and everything. So
Yeah, it's so wild as well because it's like Epic is so behind in this metaverse concept as well because like Meta beat them to it, and before Meta was Roblox, and it's like even with all this money, they keep just making stupid decisions like buying Sketchfab for their. That one was actually pretty cool to make like one big marketplace that was for everything, and then they sold Bandcamp that they bought, so they're not doing that anymore.
yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
it's like it's just like they keep trying to make something work and then it doesn't work and it just ends up hurting. And this
Yeah.
is going to really hurt Rocket League
And I-
incredibly.
And I feel like that's what Ken and I talked about this when Unity bought the Weta Technologies, and was like, we're all like, do they actually have a plan behind this? And it's like 3 years later, 3 years later, feels like I don't think they really had a plan behind this. Like,
it's like
sounded
they,
good
they
at
have
the
like
time,
a
maybe.
goal and then that's it. They just were like, well, we can't do that goal anymore and just throw it away. And it like that hurt Bandcamp pretty badly. Like
Yeah.
up until now, Epic has kind of been hands off on what Bandcamp is doing. And then when they sold them, it's basically all of their management structure is now axed. And they're trying to figure out.
Have y'all seen too? I just saw Humble Bundle as like, oh, by the way, we're not doing the monthly games bundle anymore. It's like, I was like, haven't they been doing that forever? I checked and it's like, yeah, that's been since like 2015. And Humble Bundle is just
Really?
like, oh yeah, we're not doing the monthly bundle anymore. I'm like, what is going on? This
Wild.
things
I mean, that
are-
could be just a genuine like, because the thing is you have to sell Humble Bundle keys at a disc or whatever or supply them keys in order to sell your game.
It's just funny seeing how, I mean, all of these companies, it's like, man, if Unity had just waited a few weeks, there's been so many other things that would have been bigger drama that they would have been like, well, this isn't as much of a dumpster fire.
Oh yeah, and it's only going to get worse in the next year or two as well.
Yeah, now you're thinking, okay, what's next?
That's why you gotta go open source,
Unity
everybody. Okay, I'm gonna head out before I get sucked into ranting about Unity and Godot and everything. So
What about that Unreal Engine? No.
Yeah. What about it?
I've been, just so everybody knows, I've been messing around with C++ and Unreal, and it is it's not that I'm like, it's not that C++ is hard. It's that Unreal is a bloated monstrosity of a
Behemoth.
Yeah, Unreal
Yeah.
has so many features that it's almost impossible to create a game in it by yourself
Yeah,
because there's just so many avenues with so much complexity to get one thing imported
yeah. You
for like a
have
model and then getting a shader map set up.
you
and
have to
all
have
this
a
stuff
team of
going.
experts. I think Ken, you really like. I feel like I've always like kind of understood, but I feel like Ken, you put it into words really well. Of like, I think the other week you said it's really designed for a team of experts, and that really perfectly encapsulates it. It is not designed to go from coding, messing around with the level editor, to messing around with materials and stuff like Unity is. It's like, and I would say
it screams
Godot
corporate software that went
Right.
public.
right.
It is just what it reeks of.
Oh.
Which objectively is what happened, actually.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's.
Essentially.
I do feel like there's so many things that going back to use, because I've used it a lot in the past, but going back to using it again recently has been like, it feels like all these old software design paradigms that it's so encrusted into the DNA of it. It's just basic things like I was trying to like, can I just dock windows the way you do in Unity? It's like, no, it just like popped. And I'm like, okay, let me just load this other layout. And it's like, that's going to refresh the whole editor and just break everything I just did. I was like, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very, very slow in the workflow.
yeah. So, okay. You got me talking about Unreal. I'm going to leave. Bye, everybody.
Same here. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.